Hello and welcome to my first ever booktube video. So I've wanted to make this channel for a long time. I am a big reader. I've read over 200 books. I'm reading a lot more books at the moment, and I'm also writing a book, so I just felt like this is the perfect time to start this channel. This week's video is inspired by the new TV adaptation Elle, the prequel to Legally Blonde. And I haven't finished the series yet because I just got back from holiday, so I'm a little bit behind the eight ball, but what I've seen so far, which I think I'm up to episode 6, so I'm getting through it. I love it so much. I can't believe there were mixed reviews for this show because it is so funny, so fun. It's such a nice kind of throwback to the original Legally Blonde movie. I think the actress, I think her name is Lexi, she's doing such a good job. I think she does such a good job at kind of embodying the character of Elle Woods. Anyway, in honor of the show, and I'm hoping that you have seen it, or if you haven't, that this will inspire you to go watch it because I think it's really fun. In honor, I am reviewing pink covered books today in honor of the wonderful character that is Elle Woods. And I have really grown to love pink covered books. I think I never really used to enjoy them, but I never really used to read romance either. I'm kind of new-ish, I guess, to the romance genre, and it's become my favorite. I love it so much, and I think pink covered books are honestly the cutest. I feel like pink is becoming my new favorite color. I don't know, maybe I'm in my pastel pink era because I just think that they're the cutest and most romantic, and especially this cover, by the way, so I keep pulling this book up. So Summer in the City by Aster has kind of gone around social media. It's been out for a while, I'd say maybe a year now, and this is one of, not my favorite, but one of my favorite romance books. One of my favorite books in general. It is so fun. First of all, let's talk about the cover before I get into the actual book. So I love the sprayed edges. They're so cute, and I know some people are getting over sprayed edges. I am not. I wish all books had sprayed edges. I think they're so cute, but also the inside of the cover is adorable. And it really makes sense when I tell you about the story if you haven't read it already. So it is about a character called Elle, so it's very fitting. So our main character, our protagonist, is called Elle, and the male lead is called Parker. And it is a forced proximity situation, but it's also a fake dating situation, and it's also a billionaire romance. So it's a lot of tropes in one, which I loved. So Elle is not a fan of New York City, which I think is always kind of fun when the main character doesn't necessarily love the location that they're in, because I don't know why. It just kind of creates an interesting kind of tension in the scene, and especially because I do love New York, so it's kind of funny that she doesn't enjoy the city. But she's back in New York because she's writing a screenplay, and it's set around dating spots in the city, and so she needs to be there to get some inspiration and get her screenplay done because she's suffering from writer's block. But her neighbor so happens to be somebody that she hooked up with a few years ago and does not like. So there's also enemies to lovers in there. So there's quite a few tropes. So Parker is a billionaire, and I think if I recall correctly, because I did read this a year ago, I think he needs a date for events that he's going to. I can't really remember why he kind of ends up teaming up with Elle and they decide to fake date. But she needs somebody to go to dating spots with, so they mutually need a date, basically. And that is the kind of outline of the story. I love that because he is a billionaire, the romance is quite over the top and fun. I love the fact that they're going to date spots around New York because it just drew me straight back to the city. I lived in New York for a year, and I just felt like I was right back there. And the date spots that she picked are so cute and sweet. I feel like this is kind of like literally drinking like a cosmopolitan, drinking like a fruity cocktail. It's so fun. You don't need to take it too seriously, and you can read it really, really fast, and it's the perfect summer read. And since it is summer in the Northern Hemisphere, it's not here in Australia, even though it's relatively warm where I live because I live in a warmer climate, but it's not summer. It's technically winter, but if it is summer where you are, I feel like it's just the perfect read, like beach read on a plane in a sunny park. It's just so sweet, and I think Aster did such a good job because this is her first romance. I haven't read any of her other books, I know she's known for fantasy, I think romantasy, but I feel like I might pick up one of those books, even though that's not really my preferred genre. Because she did such a good job of this, I figure she must be good at other things too. But it's really impressive that she was able to do this as her first romance, so highly recommend. It is not overrated. If anything, it's underrated in my opinion. So the second pink book on the list is by my favorite author of all time. It is Lies and Weddings by Kwan. And if you don't know Kwan, which is crazy to me, no, I'm just kidding. It doesn't matter if you don't know him, but he wrote the Crazy Rich Asians series, among other books, and I think the Crazy Rich Asians series is so good. I would give it 6 stars. I think his ability to set scenes, to develop characters, to write satire is so brilliant. I just think he's incredible, and I will read anything that he writes. And Lies and Weddings, even though I loved the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy, and I loved Sex and Vanity, which is what he wrote after that trilogy, of all the books, of all 5 books, I believe Lies and Weddings might be the best, which is saying something because I love his books so much, and it's sometimes really hard to top a series or any book that's really gone viral and is so popular, and then there's a movie, you know, it's kind of, I feel like it's so hard to kind of come back from that and do better, and he has, in my opinion. I think he's done an incredible job. I should say, by the way, this is heat damaged. This is not what the book originally looked like. It was like that colour pink, but the Australian sun is so intense that even after, how long have I owned this book? Maybe a year. It's so sun damaged. You can see on the cover and also the spine, which is kind of disappointing. I feel like pink actually is the colour that seems to get heat damaged the most, sun damaged the most. But anyway, that's besides the point. But this book is really fun, very much like the Crazy Rich Asians series. So it's between 2 characters. I think they're called Rufus and Eden. And Eden is like the girl next door. She's a doctor and she's a very sweet character. And then there's Rufus, who is a future Earl? Yes, so he's a future Earl, and he has parents that are well-to-do. I suppose one of them is an Earl, and his mum is that's right, she was a former Hong Kong supermodel, and she's very picky about who Rufus dates. There's lots of other characters, as there are with all Kevin Kwan books, but these are kind of our 2 main characters. And the entire book revolves around a wedding, as you might expect, and it's a wedding in Hawaii, which is, why would you not want to read about a wedding in Hawaii, especially a very over-the-top, rich and crazy kind of wedding in Hawaii. I mean, the kind of lengths that people go to in Kevin Kwan's books to impress people and to show off and to prove that they're wealthy and to just do things because they have money is insane and is so fun to read. In real life, I would think it was like unhinged, but because it's in a book, even though Kevin Kwan says a lot of it is inspired by real life, which is so wild to me, but because it's in a book, it's just so fun. So the main setting, I guess, is Hawaii, but there's also parts of it in California and in the UK, and I think, if I remember correctly, I think they maybe go to Italy. Oh, it says Marrakesh here. Yeah, that's right. They're in Morocco also. Yeah, there's some amazing settings, and I feel like one of Kevin Kwan's major skills is his ability to describe a scene really accurately. So when he describes Singapore and Hong Kong, places that I know and love, I feel like you're just so immersed in it. It feels so accurate to the story, even if you're not living a crazy rich lifestyle. Whatever lifestyle you're living, I just feel like it's so believable. So I would give this 6 stars. I think it is so good. These 2, like Summer in the City and Lies and Weddings, I just feel like they're perfect summer reads, but then whatever season it is, they are just so brilliant and so fun to read. So the next pink covered book I wanted to talk about is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I did have a physical copy of this. I did read the physical copy, even though I do love an audiobook, but I have since taken my physical copy to a store that takes secondhand books, and then you get credits, and that's a whole other story, but I feel like it's just such a good way to get more books, and I love a secondhand book. So unfortunately I don't have the physical copy, but the copy that I had the pink on top and then the green on the bottom, I think, but as you can see on the screen, there's a fully pink cover, which I think is really cute. So I need to kind of set the tone for this before I give this review, because I feel like the review is average, but I need to tell you that I love Emily Henry so much. I think she, in terms of the romance genre, would be my favorite. Like many other people who love and appreciate Emily Henry, I am definitely one of those. She is an incredible storyteller. I love that she can write slice of life and make it feel really accurate. The dialogue is so good because so many authors can't quite get dialogue right, and it's a very tricky thing to do. You can't write how you do in real life. Dialogue doesn't reflect real life, otherwise there would be a lot of very boring dialogue. So it's not the easiest thing to do, and I feel like Emily Henry just nails the balance where you feel like it's realistic, but it also moves at a pace that you need it to when you're reading a book. I think she's also brilliant at developing characters and also popping you in a setting that feels really realistic. She typically writes romances set in small towns. It's by a lake or a beach or in a house, something cute like that, and she does that really well. Although I will say people we meet on vacation, or you and me on vacation, depending on what edition you have. Here in Australia it was called You and Me on Vacation, but that's besides the point. Obviously that is more of a travel story, but I feel like most of them are kind of in a small town setting, and she does a great job of that. In Happy Place, our two main characters are Harriet and Wynne, and I loved Harriet. I believe she was a doctor or something in the medical field. I think she was based in San Francisco, but the story revolves around this kind of lake house, I think it was, and I do not remember where I know that it was in the US, some small town in the US, but I just don't remember specifically. But lake house, and it's the happy place of these group of friends, a group of 6 people, and it's the friends' parents' house, something like that. So this house has been the happy place of these 6 people. They've gone there for years and years, but this year they've been asked to go back, and Harriet and Wynne were engaged, and according to their friends are still engaged, but they've actually broken off and they haven't talked in months. And now they've been forced to go to this house, and they really don't want to let their friends down because it's a very close-knit friendship. Even though they're living separate lives now, they don't want to kind of ruin the friendship vibe, and they don't want to create bad energy for their friends for this kind of lake house trip. So they decide to pretend that they're still in a relationship. Now, I don't remember if I said earlier that I don't like fake dating, but typically I don't. So in Summer in the City, I was like, oh, fake dating, I can't with this. But then just fell for it and loved it. So I decided maybe I do like fake dating. But I will say in Happy Place, I didn't enjoy it as much. I suppose I had a few challenges with this book, and it's kind of more about me than the book itself, because I know that Happy Place is often ranked at the top list. So when people rank Emily Henry books, which I'm going to do a video doing that, by the way, because I've read all of her books and love them, they often rank Happy Place at the top. It's either Happy Place or Beetroot. I feel like that's the most consistent kind of ordering that I see as the number one. So people love this book and probably can relate to it way more than I can, but for whatever reason I couldn't relate to it. I don't know where it'd be on the list, but it's definitely not the top. So I liked Harriet, but I did not like Wynne. I found him to be really passive. I just wanted him to communicate more. I wanted him to have a bit more of a backbone, and I wanted him to communicate. Now, obviously, if he had communicated more, there wouldn't be a book. And that is so true for so many romance books and just books in general. If they communicated more, there's really not a story. So obviously that is just one of the tropes that people use, and that's very understandable. And honestly, it makes perfect sense, because if he was more mature and was more clear about how he felt, then honestly the story would get wrapped up really quickly and then we wouldn't have a book to read. So it makes perfect sense, but that did frustrate me a little bit. I think because I wasn't finding him likable. I just didn't really feel like he kind of deserved her, or he was a match for her. I just felt like she could kind of go for somebody a little bit more interesting, to be honest. I've probably just found him a little bit boring, frankly, and just wanted him to be more in love with her, or be more transparent, or be more interesting, which is just me, honestly. I think so many people really liked this character, so this is just my personal preference. The other thing that I didn't love, I like the happy place concept and the setting, but the friends all going to a house for a week, and the friends whose house it was were very insistent on everybody doing all these activities, and there was like this list of things that everybody had to do, and they were getting frustrated that people weren't necessarily always getting into it. it makes it really fun to read because there's a lot going on and that's really interesting. But I just found them a little bit immature, that they didn't understand, because I think these people are in their 30s. So most people in their 30s don't necessarily want a whole week with their friends. I certainly don't, because I'm such an introvert, and the thought of being in a house with a group of people, no matter how much I like them, is just like nightmarish for me. I just want to be on my own reading my book. You know, a lovely lunch or dinner is enough for me. I don't need to like go away for a whole week. So for me personally, like the topic wasn't as interesting, and I did find them, verging on immature, just expecting everybody to like really embrace this time when they've got their own lives. You know, they're at an age where they're living their own lives. They've got careers and things that they're doing. I think 2 of them had like a farm. You know, there were things to tend to, and that was stressful for them. And our main female protagonist was a doctor or in the medical field, so she's obviously, you know what I mean, there's things that she has to think about and tend to, and taking a whole week off, especially with an ex, is very challenging. But then again, it creates a lot of tension, and the fact that there are activities creates a story around, and some of them are really fun and it's really interesting to read. So I didn't not like the book. I certainly read it really quickly and enjoyed it, and again, perfect beach read, and it's really fun, but I just didn't love it. It would just be lower on my list of Emily Henry rankings, and certainly Lies and Weddings and Summer in the City. These 2 are just like, in my mind, a 5. Like, I would literally rank Summer in the City a 5. I would rank Lies and Weddings a 5. I would give this 6 stars if I could, actually, Lies and Weddings, because I just think it's brilliant. I could not stop reading it, could not put it down. Whereas Happy Place, I suppose I would... It's hard to rank an Emily Henry book anything less than like 5 stars, because she is so good. But I guess it would probably be a 4 star, let's call it 4.2 stars. So I do have other pink covered books, but those are the 3 that I most wanted to talk about. So I hope that has given you inspiration to read pink covered books, and maybe read Lies and Weddings and Summer in the City, and maybe Happy Place. And if you have read those books, I'd love to know your thoughts. Maybe you have a completely different experience to me. Maybe you ranked them in the opposite order to me. I don't know. But thank you so much for joining my first ever booktube video. I am definitely going to be recording more and talking about the books that I've read. As I've said, I've read over 200 books, and I'm reading all the time, so I'm so excited to share recommendations and to hear from you. Maybe you have recommendations for a future video, or for reads that I should be reading based on what you've heard about what I like so far. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you in the next video.